guys, it's Danny. Today is the 1st of September. Thank goodness I'm getting a little bit exhausted from the heat. Today it is time to see what orchids we had in bloom for the month of August. And contrary to what I was expecting, there were a few things in bloom. There are, however, more things in buds, to be honest, because we have the autumn bloomers. But let's make a recap. As always, you guys can vote for your favorite orchid. If you check the description below, you will find a straw poll link, and you'll find all of these orchids we're going to talk about today in order of appearance. All you have to do is vote for your favorite one this month, and at the end of the year, we're going to make a popularity contest like last year. Alrighty, so with that said, let's start. So let's start with one of the most orange orchids that I own. This is actually a new addition. It's the Laelia Golden Peacock. You'll have the names of all of these orchids in the description below. And just look at her. I believe this is the very first spike in this orchid's life. I don't see remnants of other spikes. I purchased it with a spike developing, and it continued to develop and it bloomed, and she's so lovely. Now, the big surprise, of course, with this orchid was the color, but not only, the fragrance. Yes, this orchid is a little fragrant. It does not smell in the nighttime. There is absolutely nothing for me in the nighttime. It's not even in the daytime. She smells in the first hours of the morning after I switch on the light. I wake up very early, but she starts to smell at around 8, 9, and the smell is completely gone at 12 o'clock at noon, something of the sorts. It smells like brassavola, if you know that scent. I personally really like it, but it really is not powerful. Certainly I don't feel it in the greenhouse or grow room. You have to stick your nose in the flower to sense it, which might be a good thing for some people because the brassavola fragrance can be so strong that it can give you a headache. I can see that. So if you have issues, maybe try this one. The problem is, I really didn't find many accounts of this orchid being fragrant. It might be a very, very reminiscent gene from the brassavola. Maybe not all of the individuals have fragrance, so I cannot guarantee that this orchid will be fragrant. I don't know. If you have it, let us know down below in the comment if for you it has a fragrance. Other than that, she just adapted to self-watering, actually, to like out just fine. And she's a very vigorous grower. So far, she produced another new growth, which is developing fast, and the flowers are just beautiful. At maturity, of course, and with good conditions, this orchid can create a cluster of blooms. So imagine multiple blooms of the sorts. You can obviously Google pictures so you see how she looks like. I'm just a fan of brassavola type orchids. Next up, we have a Laelia Synchrotron hybrid. This one has a bit of a long name. I'll add it in the description because I don't remember it. It doesn't have a name of its own. It is a cross. And this is not the one that bloomed in January with that beautiful burgundy color. It is the one from Ana Maria from last year. She made a full recovery, absolutely full recovery. This is the latest pseudobulb. And she bloomed this year. And as you can see, the color is completely different from what I had in January. And I don't believe it's because it's a different orchid. I believe it has to do with the temperature, just like with the Hawaiian Splashleia, Cattleya that I have. In cooler temperatures, this orchid has a more red color, and in warmer temperatures, it's more purple magenta. But it's such a deep and dark purple that even though I'm a fan of reds and oranges, I absolutely like this color as well. This is a very fragrant orchid. It smells a little bit like citronella, citrusy in any way. It has a beautiful, let's say, moderate fragrance. The other one from Max released more fragrance than this one, but that one bloomed in the winter. As you can probably tell, I was not very diligent in training the flower spike, and what it did was just flop under its own weight. With these types of Cattleyas, which have thin stems, I need to do a better job in staking them, and that's what I'm gonna do from now on. These were just a few fails from my behalf when it comes to displaying it, and yeah, I'll just have to be careful next time. But the orchids are healthy, are beautiful, the flowers are super fragrant, and for me, this type of Cattleya appears to be a fast grower and also quite vigorous. And since we started with the Cattleya types, let's continue with them. Next one that I have in bloom is one of my kinda oldest Cattleya orchids. It is a NoID. I received it from a friend many years ago, 4 years ago. It is my pink NoID Cattleya, which produces pretty fluffy flowers. This year, she is residing outside. The flowers are kind of almost gone at this point. She bloomed last month actually and opened completely this month. She has beautiful, pretty big flowers which smell a little bit like lilies to me, but this one in particular blooms regularly for me. Next up, another Brassavola hybrid, and this is actually a popular one. This is the Laelia Yellow Bird. She finally bloomed for me. This is not a young orchid, not the first time it blooms, but it is the first time it blooms for me. If I'm not mistaken, I purchased it 2 years ago from Cattleyas 2, or if not 2 years, then definitely a year and something. And she was not in good condition. She did not have roots, and of course she suffered setback. So let me show you a little bit the orchid. You can see she's not in the greatest of shape, and as long as I had her in my grow space, she did recover, but it was just very slow. Within a year, only a new growth was created, and then the other new growth started to appear, and then I moved it outside. And the new growth matured. This one in particular bloomed, the other ones didn't, but the other ones, including this one, already started to produce another new growth. So the speed is actually twice as fast ever since I put her outside. And just to clarify, it's only because of the light they're receiving there, the warmth probably. Everything is more sped up because there are resources. In the summertime, my growth space is still pretty bright, but the sun is very, very high, and I have a ceiling above me. So because it's high, the amount of places which receive bright light or direct sunshine filtered through my curtain are minimized, and my Cattleyas kind of suffer. In the wintertime, everybody's happy because the sun is so low that all of my greenhouse receives sun, but in the summertime, no. And it absolutely makes a difference. Let's return to the yellow bird here. This is an orchid I've always wanted, and I've waited so long for this one to bloom, and finally she is in bloom. And what a gorgeous display. Let me just do something really fast. Okay, this is the best I could do. I wanted to show you some similarities. Do you see the little freckling or dotting on the lip of the golden peacock? They're really similar to the dots on the yellow bird, and that's the influence of the Brassavola. Even though the Brassavola is a white greenish flower and it doesn't need to have a pattern or anything, it appears that through hybridization it passes on this gene and it becomes visible in the hybrids, which is absolutely fantastic. And yeah, just look at it. I love the little spots. Moreover, I love the little color. This is a very nice yellow. It's not a pale yellow, but you can see the difference between them. And this is a truly very fragrant orchid in the nighttime. It starts to smell when the sun is just starting to set. It can still be in the sky, and it smells through the nighttime, and in the morning time when the sun rises and starts to hit this orchid, it still smells even then. And then throughout the day it gradually dissipates. It is a wonderful orchid. It is vigorous as a hybrid, and if it's in good condition and has good environment, it can become a monster really soon, and that's what I'm hoping with mine. So for a first-time bloomer, considering she was in trouble, she didn't have roots, now she does, and she sped up growth. I'm very happy with it. And the fragrance, of course, is very similar to Brassavola fragrances. It's pretty powerful in comparison to the golden peacock, but it's just lovely. Next up, we have an Aliceara. This is a very old orchid that I have. It just didn't bloom too much because I kept messing up. This is the Aliceara Pacific Nova. I have her for 3 or 4 years already. It bloomed only a few times for me, but look at it, it's blooming now. Now, I tried to keep this orchid outside and it really did not enjoy it. So I brought it in, the pseudobulbs started to plump once again, she started to grow roots, she's okay, she's still in semi-hydro, I need to transfer it. But she started to create this flower spike, so I thought, okay, I can leave her like this, she's happy how she is, I just need to make sure I water her in time, and after the blooms go, I will just switch her up to self-watering. But there we have it. This is a really nice Brassica type orchid. She has spidery flowers, but they're really yellow. This year she bloomed a little little different than how she should. In previous years, and when I purchased it, it had a little purple spot or section here. I'll put a picture somewhere on the screen so you see what I mean. Now she doesn't have it. I'm pretty sure it has to do with the stress. She went through some stress, particularly outside, so I'm guessing this is why she does not have that little patch. Also, the flowers, you can see they're not very symmetrical. Again, it's a stress thing. This orchid should produce longer flower spikes than this. She is stressed, but for me, she overcame so many difficulties moving here. I think fusarium at some point. I cut away a lot of it at some point. What else? Going outside, trying to stay hydrated in the clay pots. She's a big drinker, by the way. Yeah, she just went through a lot. I'm surprised she still lives, but oh my goodness, she's such a survivor, and for that I love her even more. And from now on, I'm gonna make sure I will be a better mommy for it, and I'm happy for the little blooms. My summer blooming Phalaenopsis are still in bloom duty. These are brand new flowers. They're not the same flowers we saw last month, so let's take a little closer look. I feel like the bellina, being that she is yet again one of my older orchids, I've talked about her already a lot. She is very fragrant, has a sort of citrusy fragrance that I absolutely love, while the violacea, again a very popular orchid, she's newer in my collection, and this year she's blooming so beautifully. She smells very, very sweet and kind of heavy. To me, it reminds of cinnamon oil. It's so hard to choose a favorite. I shall never choose a favorite between them two because I love them both. I absolutely wanted them both, and I'm absolutely not disappointed in any of them. Another surprise bloom comes from the Epidendrum Sister My Love, which is outside. He's kind of tall. I don't want to bring him in, but here are some photos of how he looks like. He produced secondary spikes from a main spike. It doesn't look as good as the first flush. When it first opened, I don't know, 5 months ago, when did it first bloom? Quite a lot of time ago. It looked very majestic. The other reblooms, let's say, not as great. But the orchid is focusing on the new growth. It started to produce new growth, so I'm happy with that. At some point, I might just cut the flower spike because I personally am not interested in the keikis or the secondary flower spikes. However, for informational purposes, there we have it. Epidendrums can definitely rebloom out of secondary spikes. And last but definitely not least, this is my newest acquisition. I purchased this one with flower spikes and they continue to develop. This is the Miltassia, I'm sure it's Bratonia now, Lavender Kiss. Oh my goodness, she looks like the shell of Tolkien, right? But she's not. Oh, I'm just a sucker for these patterns. She looks like a Bellara. One of the reasons I love Bellaras is for their wild patterns. And yeah, if I can find a Miltassia or Bratonia looking like a Bellara, why not? It's mine. It doesn't smell much. I forgot to mention this with the Aliceara, the yellow one. They don't have much of a fragrance. The fragrance is slightly spicy in the sense of peppery, but nothing to write home about. It's not very strong. Usually Bellaras, Miltassias, or Bratonias, or Brassica hybrids, some of them, have either a sort of sweet plasticky fragrance, either a sort of peppery fragrance. They're not my favorite. I'm sure there are people who are very intrigued by the fragrance because it is special. I go for more perfumey types, but I definitely adore how they look like. And this has just entered my Hall of Fame of the most beautiful and wild looking orchids. So she will be the last one entered in the contest this month. I think that's about it. There are quite a few others which are just not fully open yet. I think this month in September we're gonna have the Dendrobium Phalaenopsis in bloom as well, so it's gonna be a little crazy, but that's okay. Now, one orchid that I shall not include in the voting process is my Phalaenopsis Karen Annie. I have her for 2 years now. We have a little problem. Look at the leaves. Look at that. Now, I don't know if that's a virus or a fungal infection. Remember when I purchased this orchid, she had these circles on the edges of her leaves. I cut them out, they just didn't come back. And what I did was I sprayed her with my solution for spider mites, and then this happened. No other Phalaenopsis had this happen, and I know, I'm sorry for the angle, but yeah, look at this. I'm hoping it is a fungal infection which can be treated, because if it is a virus, I cannot treat this orchid, and she is a threat to my other orchids, so I might give her up. And you guys, this is something that we kind of need to deal with. There is no known cure for viruses, and even though it's not super easy to transmit a virus, you never know when you're not gonna pay attention or not sterilize something super properly, and there we have it. So I'm on the fence with this one. It bloomed, it looks nice, but whatever she has on the leaves is really, really scary. She is sitting isolated right now, and we shall see how this develops. Alrighty guys, so this has been it for this month. Before I let you go, you might have noticed that I'm trying out something new. I'm trying to insert proper pictures in the video. The reason why I do this is because, you guys, this is a pretty old camera, and the lens that I love, the one that was more, let's say, sharp, it broke. I didn't actually get to buy a new lens. It's kind of expensive, and I'm contemplating just waiting for Christmas or something to get a proper camera, proper DSLR rather than a lens. I don't know, but my phone can take 4K photos, very clear photos, and I just wanted you guys to see the flowers in a very, very clear way. That's why I inserted them, but let me know if you like them. I can see how you would prefer moving images, right? Just let me know your thoughts. Alrighty guys, so don't forget to vote for your favorite orchid this month. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you did, you know the drill, give this video a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe to my channel for regular orchid videos, tutorials, and of course, orchids in bloom. And if you'd like YouTube to notify you whenever I upload a new video, just turn on notifications for my channel. And with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!